Marvel has done it yet again. I don't know how they stayed this consistent for this long, but I'm not going to complain. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is that game. And if you've played it, the one thing you're going to notice is that building a team is very important. That this whole game is based on teamwork. You have to learn how to play with other players because computers not going to cut it. So I've come up with 3 tips, nothing too complicated, just a couple little pointers to head you in the right direction in order to help you learn how to build a team and make sure that your characters at least can handle the difficult missions. This works for any character because every character in this game works. They're all viable, nobody's trash. So if that interests you, just hop on in. First thing that you guys have to know is understand your character. And the first thing, if you want to build a team, look at your team bonuses. I'm not going to go through every single team bonus in this game because that would take way too long. But the gist is, you look, and if a character's in a category, you put them on the team, they activate the bonus. The more characters per category that you have, everything works. Each category, or each team I should say, is going to boost a category. So if you see a purple symbol, a green symbol, an orange symbol, so on and so forth, each team is going to boost that ability up by some percent. And as I was saying earlier, the more that you have in a category, the higher that percent is going to go. And this core team, it works very well together because all those characters, as you can see, work together on some way, shape, or form throughout the team. So if you see for Wolverine, now this is kind of where we got to go on the second way. You got to use your ISO 8s to build the character the way that you want them to play. So for Wolverine, I have an increased piercing attack damage because all his specials are piercing. I think I had put increased light attack damage, so he's going to do more damage. And I gave him Fire Claws because, well, why not? And I think that was one of his new powers that they gave him in the show. So Wolverine is a high DPS character, at least when I play him. For Spider-Man, all his moves are pretty much binding because obviously he shoots webs, things like that. So I use ISO 8s to pretty much boost his damage when he's doing web moves. So he does better damage when enemies are bound, aka when they're tied up in webs. He does heavier projectile attack damage, aka all his special moves are going to do more damage, kind of like how I have Wolverine. And I believe I gave him, at this point I didn't put on the ISO 8, but I'm going to give him a higher heavy attack. Now Captain America, he's a tank. He's the mobile tank. He's all about defense and going in. Well, he's not really going in for offense because I have higher durability, meaning he won't be hitting as hard, but he will be taking more damage. I have increased melee attack damage, so all his special moves, well, not hit all his specials, but the shield throw and the shield bash, those do more damage. And I believe at this point I upped his resistance. So basically he's going to be able to absorb more hits, he's going to be able to deal a little bit more damage. And his shield defense move, that absolute defense, monster. Now for Tony, I chose to focus on energy damage because he has a move for almost every situation. He has an AoE, he has a beam that's great on EP usage. He also has missiles that hit a lot of different targets. So for him, I was like, bet, we're just going to focus on straight raw energy damage. So I boosted that. And then I gave him increased synergy attack building extreme gauge so he can get to that faster. And I also believe I gave him increased EP, not reduction, but he has more energy, so he can just do it forever. It would not be Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 without me using multiple characters. And honestly, this game makes it so much easier to manage. So if you're looking right now, you're going to see the ability screen. This shows you what the moves are, what they do, their stats like damage, EPU, stagger. This is all very important, as well as their attack type and their synergy trait. That's going to play a role into what moves you want to use with what characters. So for Daredevil, I'm using him as the crowd control DPS. He does best, at least when I play him, when you go into a group of enemies and you use one of his 2 melee moves, which are pretty much just you hit everything around you and it's just super stacked. But I don't have him focus on anything else, so I think I also put an ISO 8 that increases his resistance, basically like super armor to getting hit. He has a radar sense move, which is that thing right there, which increases his attack. So like I said, he's good when you throw him in a group and you want him to take a group of enemies out. Now for Iron Fist, as the name implies, I want him to have an Iron Fist. Now the weird thing about him is most of his special moves, they're energy, kind of like Iron Man. But I don't want him to be solely, purely focused on just energy attacks. So I gave him light attack damage because I love the way his moves look like. As somebody who does martial arts and things like that, the way he moves and fights is just so clean to me. So I wanted to focus on that. As well as for Elektra, I had a little specialist case. I wanted her to focus on that piercing move because Honestly, she doesn't do that much damage, and a lot of her moves really, they're not terrible, but there's a lot of other characters who do it better. So I wanted her to be the character I put on the team where she staggers the opponent. So that little charge move she does, I have increased stun, she does better damage when the opponent is stunned, and she has higher piercing damage. So basically that move right there is what Electra is known for. If you notice, I literally took that entire man's stagger bar in one move. The only downside is you can't throw that move out because it takes EP, and it's kind of hard to just randomly throw that out. Now for Luke Cage, he's kind of like a tank, at least when I like using him, because like Captain America, I have him do high resistance, not really high damage. He's more of a durability character, so I have him tank all the hits because he's going to do high damage anyway, so I just increase his strength. So pretty much he's the guy who you sit in the front, he's like a tank, he's going to go through, he's going to absorb damage, he's going to give damage out, but he's not going to have a lot of combo potential. He's going to pretty much just be a battering ram. The one thing I noticed when I'm playing this team is it didn't really work like I thought it did, right? Like the stats worked, but it didn't increase or it didn't upgrade how I thought, which is where we're going to isolate management. This is probably the most in-depth part of this game, even though it's still very simple, it's very easy to understand. As you can see, using that filter feature to figure out which isolates you want to upgrade saves a whole bunch of time, makes it a whole lot easier. And I did this for every person on the team before I tried this mission again, but I just didn't feel like showing you every single person getting upgraded. But as you can see, I picked the ISO 8, so you got to use the smaller crystals, which is the ones that are down there. If you see it says 1 out of 2 or 0 out of 2, pick those. Pro tip, make sure you don't pick ones that you actually want to use, because you have to use materials to upgrade. So you don't want to pick something that you actually need or it's locked onto somebody else and you out here looking stupid because you actually needed it. So just pay attention, be careful, and be ready, or not be ready, but just know that's the one you want to use. So now we're back in the last mission, or the mission I just did. So now we see his radar sense in action. If you notice, the numbers are a little bit higher and they're more consistent because I increased his melee damage. So he should be doing more damage on his crowd control moves. And that right there, I noticed when you upgrade the strength and you upgrade his melee attack, boy, that does some damage. But again, it's only in groups and it does not do stagger very well. So you need to get either enemies health bar or stagger bar gone. We need to make sure they're like light enemies. Now Iron Fist, I think I put his mastery back up, or I increased his energy attack damage. So now his energy attacks, which are his uppercut, his Hadouken, and I think his AoE aura, they should do more damage. And his light attack still does numbers. So Iron Fist is still that guy when you want to really throw hands in the flashiest of ways. You understand me? But for Iron Fist, you definitely want to combo from his light attacks into his energy moves. That's the best way to get damage, at least when I'm playing Iron Fist. That's what I would recommend. Because you notice how that AoE just took away their stagger bar and did a lot of damage. So for Electra, I increased her piercing damage. I also increased her rate of getting somebody to stagger. And I think I also increased her damage that she does on stun. I don't remember because I'm not looking at the ISO 8s right now. But basically, oh, did you see that synergy attack? That is also key tip. Make sure that you know which characters that you use go with what synergy attacks, and if you really want to get saucy with it, learn what your friends' favorite characters are, or characters that you see a lot of people play, and learn what synergy attacks work with those moves, and then you can make your character either build around them, or you can build your character as their own, and then you can throw them in when they're needed. And it just, I promise you guys, this game, it looks simple, but if you take the time to really look, you'll be amazed at what Marvel has actually put together. But that's pretty much all I have for this video. Marvel came through with a heat. Again, this game is going to be a banger. I can't wait for the DLC. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. If you guys want to see more in-depth coverage of this game, either through teams, character builds, missions, Infinity Verse, whatever it is, let me know and I'll get on that. Peace!